Hey, and welcome back. Kill the Cat Radio, Sharp Teeth, episode 22. Moving into July of 2023, we have episode 22. Has it really been 22 episodes? That's kind of crazy if you think about it. I did not think we'd make it this far. I say that pretty much every time, and we have made it this far. I want to go ahead and thank immediately our 59 subscribers. If you have not subscribed to this channel and enjoy watching this content, please subscribe below. Hit the subscribe button. It's totally free. Pretty cool. Follow us on all the major social media sites at Kill the Cat Radio. You can see not much has changed around here. Got the old guitar. That's the Epiphone, the black Epiphone. Pretty cool. The AC/DC guitar. Spent a lot of time on live shows playing with that thing. We got our book to show off. This is friend Zeta. He is a interesting graphic artist, illustrator, comic book artist. Did a lot of stuff for early Dungeons and Dragons kind of artwork, along with Gary Gygax, the founder of Dungeons and Dragons and Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. That is for the nerds out there. Okay, shout out to you guys who know what I'm talking about. And I'm talking about the old school nerds when it wasn't cool to play D&D. And of course, the hat on the wall, always bringing us good luck in our orange office here. So let's get started. I'm Matthew Diabate. This is Kill the Cat Radio, Sharp Teeth, episode 22. What is it about this week? Well, folks, as my ancient 90s clipboard tells me, the title of this one is my COVID-19 love letter. So a love letter to the lockdown. Now, people are like, I don't want to watch another thing about another lockdown story. I don't want to hear anything about COVID-19 ever again. I completely agree with you 100,000%. I don't want to hear about it either. However, in the United States, we have something unfortunately called a very short-term memory. Everybody just wants to move on from what already happened for those strange 2.5 years. We were counting death counts like we were playing the lotto. We had a weird nipple-pierced governor here in New York City, is the father of the nation, who eventually had to retire in infamy. Talking about Mr. Cuomo there, Governor Cuomo and his corrupted family. But I want to dedicate this episode to all of you out there who are really severely affected by COVID-19, not just from losing people, and my heart and soul goes out to you if you lost anyone during the COVID-19 process and lockdown. But I also want to dedicate this episode to you who lost everything. Now, there's going to be 3 points to this little episode here, and I'll make them very quickly and succinctly. Point 1, I'll tell you a little bit of my personal story. Before COVID and the lockdowns here in New York City, things were kind of looking up for me financially, I'm talking about. I was already doing KTCRs, 2 mics, so we were having a lot of sit-down interviews, but nothing was on camera. It wasn't like what we do now. I was a cocktailing bartender at Daddy-O's in Greenwich Village. That's the West Village to you. Very fancy little cocktailing place. Learned about 55 different kind of cocktail drinks. Not a lot of cash coming through that business. It was mainly those silver and black American Express cards. They just plinked down like a scene from American Psycho. So things were going pretty well. I wasn't making a lot of money, but I was making seriously consistent money working 3 days a week. It was probably an extra $2,000 a month for working 3 days a week. So what's that? That's 12 days a month making $2,000. That's pretty good money. On the other side of that, I was a licensed tour guide in New York City and ran my own business called Walkway Tours, where we lead people around and talk about the history of different neighborhoods like the West Village, East Village, Midtown, and downtown areas in Manhattan. Yes, I know all the stuff about that, and we'll get into the history and all the nerd things I know about little crevices and cracks of New York history. Very fun stuff. Really cool. Just had my first order of, I think it was 15 people or something like that. It was probably like $1,000 coming my way for 2 hours worth of work. So can you imagine this? Like, this is a great setup. You work at the cocktail bar, you make some money, and then on your days off, you're leading people around in your own business, making your own money. Everything was going to me. We were on the up and up, and it was right there, March, right before the lockdowns were called out, okay? Of course, lockdowns come, bars closed down, Daddy-O's closed forever. Yeah, so just overnight. The one place I never thought would be affected by any kind of economic downturns would be bars. I thought bars would be the one place that could survive anything because everybody always needs to drink. You drink during good times, you drink during bad times. You drink celebrating, you drink not celebrating. You get divorced, you drink. You get married, you drink. It's a win-win situation. Lockdown changed everything. Closed the place down, lost my job, no questions asked, finished, done, finito, over. Running food tours in New York City. Gatherings of people, not happening. Planes coming over with tourists, not happening. Food places go out of business. A lot of the classic joints that I would take my customers to were these classic places in the West Village and East Village and Midtown and downtown, and most of them closed down. Historic places. They were barely hanging on by a string anyways, because they were old and they were still kind of inexpensive. Got totally gutted and destroyed. So my tour business effectively got killed before it even really got started. Now, this story is nothing new. I know there are hundreds and thousands of you out there that have lost everything because of these lockdowns. You lost everything. You couldn't go to work. If you couldn't work from home, then what? You just took the money from the government, became an alcoholic. That's what happened to me, basically. But my heart and soul goes out to these people because I was one of these people. All right. That's my personal story. I lost it. I took the money from the government, which they still taxed, by the way. Let's not forget that little fun fact. You still got to pay taxes on that free money, which hopefully went back into the economy and hopefully started everything else. Then all the new information started coming out. All of certain businesses started making a shitload of money. Pharmaceutical companies, crap loads of money. Loan officers, crap loads of money. Securities, stocks, bonds, other markets. Tons of money were made from this. Whoever invented a really cool new hand sanitizer probably is a billionaire right now. Mask manufacturers, right? A lot of people made money off the pandemic. I'll tell you that much right now. But that's point one for me. Point one for me is my own personal story so I can relate to you guys. Put your own story down in the comments section. Tell me how you lost everything. Tell me what you lost during these lockdowns. What happened to you? Vent a little bit. Get mad about it. No one cares. We only got 59 subscribers. Hopefully we'll have over 100 in the next couple months. Do it. Rant on. Get on it. You're not going to ban me. There's not going to be any problems here. YouTube's not going to mess with me. Put whatever you want down. You want government conspiracies down there? Do it. Because that leads us to part 2, government conspiracies. No. This is not like the episode, the conspiracy episodes, which are always fun. I know. I love that one too. That was probably one of our greatest hits thus far on this channel. But you got a lot of the free money. And that from the government kind of put a nice Band-Aid on a wound for a lot of Americans who lost everything. If you were in food service, you were out. If you were in the movies, you were out. If you were in trucking or having any kind of intention of doing anything around any other person, you were out, right? People who could work from home, I know people who nothing changed during pandemic for them. Nothing really changed. It was fine. There was not a problem one bit. You know, they went about their business and they just worked, and some of them already had worked from home, so they just continued to do that. And that's the way it was, and that's the way it is for these folks. And I'm not hating on them. I'm happy that they weren't affected by it. Just my heart goes out, and this is my love letter to the lockdown and to the people that were truly affected by this. I am one of you. We are in this together. Now, was there government conspiracies for lockdowns? I don't know. Different states responded in different ways. That's why Florida got so famous, and DeSantis got his whole thing going on now because, you know, at least he had it before, you know, he started looking like a mannequin, you know, like a weird fat Italian mannequin. You know, no offense against the Guinea population. I'm one of them. All right. But I have a little bit more animation than this gentleman who doesn't do anything, and he talks really weird, and it's like, dude, is this guy like possessed by, that's another conspiracy. Is he a puppet? You know, who's the puppet master? I want to know who's in charge. But the money was a good surge. It was kind of just like, you know, like, all right, here's some money for everybody. Do what you got to do with it. Maybe save it. You're gonna have to pay taxes on it later. They didn't really go into too much detail about that, but that's what you needed to do. Unfortunately, most people, they didn't do so good. They made some bad decisions. I was one of them. I'll tell you, my alcohol bar was filled. I mean, if you look at this table over here, this thing was packed full of bottles of vodka and whiskey and tequila and champagnes and all that stuff. So I was an idiot. which leads us to point 3. All of the different psychological ramifications that came from being locked down for over 2 years. What started as a 2-week experiment to try to curb the disease turned into 2 years of our lives wasted. I don't even count them. I can't remember what rapper said. I'm not even going to count. Is it Kesha? I don't know. One of these ones. Khalees said she's not even going to count the years under lockdown, so she's like 2 years younger than she actually is. I'm going to go with her on that. Me and Kesha or Khalees, all the Ks, we're all going to get together, and I'm actually 44 years old. God damn it. I'm not 46 years old. I'm 43 maybe even, right? We could do that. We could just lie, right? We could do that. I look, I could pass. I'm a passing 43-year-old, right? Huh? Not 46. But just think how many people were already like on the brink of disaster. Just trying to get started. Like me, I was coming off a divorce. You're trying to do your best. You're trying to, build something for yourself, and then suddenly crushed. You are now gone. Goodbye, dreams. So all the people who had their own businesses they were trying to start out, all the people that were already teetering on sanity, maybe they were already kind of alcoholic, couldn't really be around a lot of social support systems, right back to drinking. Drug addicts, the same thing. Suicide rates skyrocketed. I knew so many people in the bar industry that either committed suicide or overdosed or what have you, or just simply disappeared. I mean, almost every 3 weeks there was someone who's like, well, did you hear what happened to T? Well, she didn't make it. Or did you hear what happened to Carlos? He didn't make it. It's like, what happened? Well, one jumped off a bridge. Another one overdosed. Another one hung themselves. It's like, not to get all dark and everything, but you take away people's livelihood. I mean, at least me as an artist, I could write and do things and start, doing these kind of podcast things and putting up cameras and what have you. But not everybody was privy to that kind of pivot turn that they could actually put something in their brains that made them a little bit more healthier. So they didn't feel like just everything that they tried to do was pointless. I mean, isn't that really what it comes down to? What we really want in life? I mean, this is turning into a self-help channel, and that's fine. This is my love letter to you guys. Isn't the whole point of life to have some kind of point? The point is the point. So if you just started a business, crush, right? That's why there's so much resentment against the government. If there wasn't already resentment anyways, I mean, people were saying, yeah, it's totally okay to protest during the Black Lives Matter protests. That was fine. You could gather on the streets and burn down buildings, but God forbid you actually open up your own lemonade stand. I want to make some money, even masked and sanitized. You couldn't even do that without it being shut down. A lot of the restaurants had to build things in front of the restaurant, so you already were paying rent on the restaurant, but then you had to build another restaurant in front of the other restaurant. That doesn't make any sense. So my heart goes out to these people who are really, really, really affected by this. I was one of them. I was lucky enough to be able to pivot, turn, keep my mind occupied, get rid of the alcoholism and potential depression that was gathering and glooming from those couple years that were coming out. And I hope you did too, But there's a lot of people who just don't seem to get it. They don't understand why there's this simmering pool of rage in sort of the underclasses of the United States of America at this time. I can't speak to any other countries. I can only speak to ours. There's a simmering rage boiling as we speak from people who had everything taken away from them, not by their own fault. And I understand we have to do things for health procedures, but what do you really think is going to happen to these people who've been disenfranchised? And now all of these new facts are coming out like, oh, the masks really didn't help that much. Oh, the vaccines really didn't support the immune system as much as it should have. You could still pass it to other people. What were those vaccines really doing here? Again, I'm not going conspiracy theory, but last time I checked, if you take a vaccine for something, you're not supposed to get what that vaccine was supposed to vaccinate you against. And what happened to everybody who took the vaccine? They got COVID. Now, I didn't get COVID. I think I drank it out of me. I think all the alcohol destroyed any kind of foreign bacteria that could have come into my body. Was immediately destroyed. The ethanol just sort of took it over and protected us drunks. But if you take a vaccine and it doesn't work, right? And you have to take these vaccines that don't work for you to even go to your job that doesn't really even protect your job from anything. What was the point again? If you know the point of all this, please put it down in the comment section below. Because frankly, I don't get it. I don't see the point of shutting down an entire economic system simply because of the fear that some people might have comorbidities and be in trouble. maybe the sick people should have been put somewhere else. And if you were sick, isolate yourself, but the rest of the people who, one, didn't mind getting sick, and two, didn't mind taking the risk, they should have been able to do whatever the F they wanted. And that didn't happen. And that leads us, my friends, to the creep of the week. Creep of the week. I deem the creep of the week this week. It doesn't have to be a person, place, or thing, or it could be all three or an idea. My creep of the week, my indictment, my gavel comes down on all of you, and you probably know some of these people who refuse to admit why people are pissed off. Why do you think people are so willing to vote strange people into office as a counter argument, as a bomb-throwing counter argument against the government as is? Status quo, the duopoly system, Democrats, Republicans, pretty much the same thing. People are so wild enough to not only, as you saw January 6th, attack the Capitol, right? And whatever, and that could be up to you, whatever the way you want to look at that event on January 6th, that's up to you as an American. I'm saying if you don't understand why there is a simmering, boiling, absolute contempt for politics status quo, I'm sorry, you're the creep of the week. Things were just fine for you. You didn't really get that affected. You don't know why these people are like, why are they just drinking so much? Why are they taking all these drugs? They were going to do it anyways. All these crappy excuses for what you need to just look in the mirror and remember that the person sitting next to you on the subway or on the bus or in traffic in the car may not have survived as well as you did during the lockdown. Pity, my friends, pity, compassion for those that, beyond their own will, their livelihood and their lifestyle and their money was taken away from them because they did not subject themselves to certain ideals that they did not agree with. And isn't that the American tradition? I mean, remember when those Canadian truckers protested? The government actually hacked in their own bank accounts to freeze accounts so these truckers couldn't even get paid simply because they were saying, we don't really believe in these vaccines. I mean, we're in a truck. We're trying to deliver goods and services across the Canadian nation and some in the northern regions of the United States. And they weren't having that. But if the government could come in and shut down your money, I'm sorry, that is a huge problem that needs to be addressed. And the creep of the week are the people who just act like everything is back to normal. I told you, it's that crazy thing we have as Americans. It's the short-term memory loss. We're like, wait, what happened? Wait, what's going on? Oh, yeah, well, no, it's old news, old news. Really? Old news. I'm still recovering from the financial disaster that was my life. I'm still recovering. Thank God there are people in my life who have helped me through this, who show me the grace and gratitude to be able to keep me around, my landlord, all that stuff. People know that people went through a lot of crap because of this. And now, what are we in now? Anybody who's in the entertainment industry is screwed right now, too, because of the strikes. They want more money. Well, what about all the people who aren't in the guilds? What about all the people who aren't striking or any part of the organizations? They're out of a job, too. The people who lose are always the people who are barely hanging on right on the bottom fringes of society. And so when you start seeing crime going up and you start seeing drug use going up and alcoholism rates going out of control, and you start seeing people doing more crimes, shoplifting, murder, mass shootings. I mean, this is not a coincidence here, people. Okay. It's because we told people, certain types who maybe were on the fringes, right? Financially, economically, and psychologically, okay, that they had to stop living their lives as they knew it, beyond any control of them. And when they think about you, the people who don't acknowledge their pain, and they think about the government who made the rules, this sort of shadowy figure, deep state government they have in their minds, they're not too happy about it. And do I think this is the end of it all? Have we passed it all? Have we not seen the full ramifications of this basically justified vengeance? I don't think so. We're not out of the gate by a mile, all right? So if we start seeing some strange things start occurring in the next year, I can guarantee if you are smart, you can connect the dots all the way back to what went down during COVID and during the lockdown. I guarantee you, do the math, 2 + 2 = 4, connect the dots. If you don't see the connections, you're the creep of the week. You got it? Awesome. We're going to go ahead and totally ignore the talkback section because we haven't done one of these in a while. If you talk certainly back in this episode, we will address it next episode, which will be coming out very shortly, episode 23. But instead, we're going to take you into a different section that I'm very proud of, a sort of sub-channel of this Kill the Cat Radio Sharp Teeth channel. And that's our Cinephilia channel, where I discuss my favorite movies of all time. Are there any rules? No. Is there any rhyme or reason to it all? No, no. The first one we put out was Roadhouse. That was number 1. Fantastic Patrick Swayze movie. Go look at Cinephilia number 2, which just came out a couple weeks ago. I'm going to attach it to the end of this podcast entry. And that's Nightmare on Elm Street 3. That's right, guys. Freddy Krueger. And if you haven't watched Cinephilia number 2 with Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, Dream Warriors as its featured film, you don't have to look any further because we're going to play it right now. And welcome back to Cinephilia number 2, where I discuss my favorite movies of all time. Now, this week's film in question regards a man who used to come to my dreams. He was horribly disfigured, very scary to look at, in a tattered sweater and a hand with claws, sharp as razors. I even had to face this man one day in a dream, because that's where he lives, in the dreams and nightmares of children all over the world. But in this week's film, they all live on one street. And who is this person in question? A supernatural demon from the outskirts of the abyss. That's right. It's Nightmare on Elm Street 3, and his name is Freddy Krueger.
A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. Freddy's just around the corner.
Now, old Fred Krueger likes to kill children and teenagers in their dreams. He comes up with horrific ways to murder them in their sleep, because if you die in your sleep, you die in real life. He can come to your dream in any form. You see, the shtick is that Freddy Krueger will kill the kid in whatever ways they fear the most. So if you're a bit scared of this one particular thing, Fred Krueger will figure it out and use that stuff against you in your own dreams. Terrible son of a bitch. He's the magic man. He's Mr. Stardust. Nightmare on Elm Street 3 takes place at a mental institution filled with a bunch of psychologically weak youngsters, all with troubled pasts. Take Sleepy Philip here, for instance. He likes to sleepwalk. Well, Freddy Krueger's got certain plans for him.
What's he doing?
He's a real son of a bitch. Obviously, the children at the hospital are quite sad. A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors was released in 1987, directed by Chuck Russell and produced by Robert Shea. Each of these characters originally created by Wes Craven, the master of horror himself. The story goes something like this. Young Kristen here, played by a very supple Patricia Arquette, is being pulled into this nightmare scenario and locked in a hospital with the rest of these children. You have Taryn, obviously a drug addict. I had a bit of a crush on her when I was young. You've got Kincaid, the strong man who's full of interesting quips.
Have a nice stroll, asshole.
And you have the return of Nancy from the first movie, ready to battle her ancient enemy, Freddy. And then you got some weird chick who really likes TV. But one of Kristen's special powers, other than being tortured by Freddy himself, is that she can bring other people into her dreams. And there she teaches them who they really are in their deep unconscious. Hence, Dream Warriors. These kids begin to fight back. You got Taryn, who's a real badass, who meets an unfortunate drug ending, and you got a nerdy kid who really, really likes Dungeons and Dragons, but unfortunately is cursed to a wheelchair during his waking life. But in the dream world, something else happens, and he tries to fight back.
Well, you look tired. Have a seat.
No thanks. I'm fine just the way I am.
For now, maybe. But when you wake up, it's back in the saddle again. For you, kid!
I am the Wizard Master. I am the Wizard Master! In the name of Lorik, Prince of Elves, demon be gone!
Sorry, kid. I don't believe in fairy tales.
Like I said, a real son of a bitch. Got some interesting early performances. Patricia Arquette in her first film role plays Kristen, and credited as one of the orderlies at the hospital, Larry Fishburne. That's right, Lawrence Fishburne of Matrix fame. They must come together, use their dream powers to destroy the supernatural creature named Freddy Krueger. Also, you got a fantastic soundtrack with a bunch of hot dudes with teased hair. It's a hell of a movie, probably my favorite in the franchise. Number 3's got everything you need. Frightening imagery of death, interesting characters, a very, very snake-headed Freddy, which kind of looks a little bit like something else strange. This is a family program. Will the kids survive? Well, you'll just have to watch to find out. This is Nightmare on Elm Street 3, guys. You know Freddy's going to be around for another 1,000 movies. So maybe next time you go to sleep, beware. You too might see a horribly disfigured man in your dreams. You might just have to look into your own heart for what your dream powers really are. This is Cinephilia number 2, Sweet Dreams. Thank you very much for all the 59 subscribers watching these videos repeatedly each week. Thank you very much for following us at Kill the Cat Radio on all of the major social media platforms. Thank you for all the 86% of you that have not subscribed but are still watching. Hey, your eyes are on me. My eyes are on you. Simpatico, you know what I'm saying? This is Kill the Cat Radio, Sharp Teeth. This was episode 22. I hope you enjoyed yourself, and I will see you next week. Bon voyage.